What's your most wholesome secret? I secretly drop pennies. For many years, my uncle used to bend down and pick up every penny he came across, which was maddening to my aunt, who was worried the neighbors would see him and assume they were poor, needing every penny they could find. They used to tease each other about it. My uncle got cancer and passed away after a very long struggle. After the funeral, we were walking to the car and my aunt saw a penny and said, "Oh, John is thinking of me. He left this penny for me today." So whenever I'm around my aunt, I purposely drop pennies on the ground for her to find. I haven't been caught yet, and I hope I never do. One time when I was like 14, on my dad's friend's land, I was sitting on my quad parked next to my dad and his friend Titi's nephew, 9, and stepson, 13, were riding their motorcycles around about 100 yards off when we hear a loud crash and the kids yelling. T drops his last beer, gestures to commandeer my four-wheeler, and he and my dad take off over there. I notice that the beer tipped over, so I pick it up, brush the dirt off of it, and sit it back up right where he dropped it. After everything is said and done, scrapes and bruises accounted for, he comes back to find his beer standing upright. The look on his face was priceless. He thanks the ale gods for saving his beer and told the story of his magic beer. I decided I'd never ruin it. I'm the beer god. Sometimes I swap the almost empty beers in friends' koozes out with fresh ones without them ever noticing. Nobody's sure who does it. Gotta keep the magic alive. When I was a kid, I used to always twist the quarter machines on the way into stores just in case. Got lucky a couple of times and a few free toys. Now that I'm grown, if I'm leaving a store with them, I like to drop change into them, if I have it, and leave them half twisted. I'm taking my science geek housemate to Switzerland to go to CERN at the weekend. I've tricked him into taking Friday and Monday off work, stolen his passport, slowly been stealing his clothes from him when he's hung them up to dry. I'm an expert packer, so I've fit all we need for the weekend in one backpack, so it won't look unusual when we leave for our day out at the beach on Friday. I was ill for a while, and he was practically my nurse, so I owe him. I love surprises. My almost 16-year-old thinks he's saving for a car. He's actually saved about $11,000. He doesn't know I'm going to buy him a car and he can use that money for something else. Every year for my mum's birthday, when we go on a night out, I give people money to buy 2 shots. One for them, one for my mum. I just ask them to go over and wish her a happy birthday and give her the shot. It's great watching her talk about it to everyone that will listen. How so many people knew it was her birthday and she got all these free drinks. How special she felt. It's worth the money just to see her face light up and get that sparkle back in her eyes. I've had my cat for 18 years. I've had my husband for 3 years. He always wanted a cat and never had one. Their love is strong and true, but obviously the cat is slightly more attached to / familiar with me. My husband loves that cat so much and gets a little bit of a thrill out of the idea that the cat loves us equally, even though I had a 15-year head start. What my husband doesn't know is that I sometimes intentionally annoy the cat so that he will go snuggle with my husband instead, because it is so damn cute how giddy my husband gets about it. When I can afford to, I tuck extra $20s in my parents' and boyfriends' wallets, so they think they forgot they had extra money. They've done so much for me, including covering my bills when I wasn't able to, and none of them will let me pay them back, so it's my way of secretly thanking them for their help and support. Without revealing too much information, my previous job had a major perk, a lottery system in which the winners got to accompany a group to various locations in the world for a hybrid vacation/work trip. I won the lottery one year and was selected to go to Istanbul. I heard a coworker talking to her spouse on the phone about how bummed she was she did not get it. She was selected as my backup, but did not know who she was backing up. She had hoped to visit a long lost family member. She is a quiet, sweet, helpful person. Very behind the scenes, rather underappreciated. I gave up my spot due to a prior commitment. She got to go instead. I had a great time looking at her pictures. Not about me, but it's a secret that nobody knows except me. My dad walked out on me when I was 14, but he kept in touch with my older brother. He bought my older brother a car or $3,000 DSLR camera when they were a new thing, took him on trips, etc. He hasn't said a word to me since I was 14, though. It's up. Anyway, when I turned 16 my grandfather went out and bought me a car. He'd have me over a couple weekends every month to help him around the house, help work on the boats with him, etc. At the time I thought he just needed help. I thought my problems with my dad were my fault for misbehaving for something, and that nobody in my family knew about them except me and my mom. The older I get, the more I realize my mom must have gone to him over the way my father was treating me, and he stepped in to help raise me. He was the best man I ever knew. I'm taking my daughters to McDonald's and the movies after school today. They have no idea. They think we are going home to do spring cleaning, which I already did. I can hardly contain myself. I'm so excited. I'm learning French, but I'm trying to keep it a secret from my French speaking dad so I can surprise him. When Ask.fm was a thing, I used to spam the question boxes of girls who had low self-esteem with nice compliments. Aunt was gonna be short for her aunt. I paid the landlord and told him to say that she paid it earlier in the month. She was so happy about it, made steaks for supper and paid extra on other bills so she'd be ahead of them. Me and my friends once bought a Valentine for a boy who wasn't very popular in our class. We didn't put our names on it, but he was so happy to have received one, he kept turning it over and over in his hands all day. A friend of mine has problems with paying his bills. His parents don't support him that much, and he can't get a good student loan because of stupid regulations. He often containers food at a local supermarket and then invites me to dinner and to hang out. He is about to get his bachelor degree and has to be in lab almost all day, thus he cannot work more than a few hours a week. I sometimes leave behind $5.20 randomly lying around in his room to support him. He wouldn't take the money if I gave it to him directly. When I see two girls walking by and one is clearly more beautiful than the other, I keep the eye contact with the less attractive one and smile. In school I was not very attractive, not very athletic, and not very popular. There was a company of popular girls and a couple of them would always say hi to me, although they were not friends with me, congratulate me on my birthday, invite me to events. These little gestures can mean a world to people with low self-esteem. Those small tokens of attention from those girls inspired me to get my together in college, do sports, socialize more, pay attention to detail, and not be in. My dad is a car enthusiast and has always said that he'd like to go to Cuba to see the old cars. He supported me and sacrificed so I could go to a good school and allowed me to live at home during college. I graduate in May and have a job lined up and little debt. He turned 60 in October and I'm planning on sending him and mom to Cuba for vacation. I'm probably late so this'll get buried, but when I'm in the car with my military hardened dad, he will occasionally go on long rants about how much he loves, respects, and appreciates my mom for everything she does, and he'll start saying these things completely unprompted and out of the blue, and my mom has no idea. I've started recording these with my phone without him knowing, and plan to throw them all together into one big file and play it for them on one of their anniversaries. I start conversations with random people on the bus if it seems like they're having a bad day. One of the most notable people was a Russian woman who seemed proud of having a pacifier and an elderly Japanese woman who I had to help navigate the bus system with my limited Japanese. Ended up skipping class to make sure she got to her son's place. I read a news story about a valedictorian who made a fake Instagram account and wrote positive comments to people from his school, so I did the same. I work at a grocery store and a woman and her little girl went through with a cart full of groceries. It was the first week of the month and she was using her AT card. For some reason it was declined and she started crying. She thanked us for trying it a few times and she didn't understand why it wasn't working. It was payday and I didn't make a whole lot as I was only a part-time worker. However, I went over to the bank in the store and cashed my check. I went to our customer service desk where she was on the phone with the bank and gave it over quietly. My coworker paid for the rest and we didn't make it a big deal. She wasn't paying attention and was just handed the receipt and told to go home and enjoy the day. We took care of it. She cried harder and thanked everyone and asked for a manager and was telling her little girl that this was a miracle. We had to tell her to not get a manager because where I work, giving money during your shift is grounds for suspension. I will always remember her gratitude. I'm about to have a talk with my girlfriend's dad before I propose. He's a huge hockey fan, so I bought 2 tickets to the Blackhawks' first playoff game. He's only had daughters, so he's never had the bonding dude experience of a few beers and live sports. Screw a casual get together, we are going big. I'm so excited to just show up at the house and be like, get up, get your gear, and let's go. I have tickets. It's super secret, but I have to tell someone. When my girlfriend and her kid come to visit, I don't order pizza because I'm feeling lazy. I order pizza because it makes the kid super happy. I always make sure to get extra pineapples because that's the kid's favorite, even though her mom and I don't really care for them that much. It's worth eating pizza that is mediocre to see a 4-year-old beaming because she gets pizza